Well, I'm going to try and give a sermon from here. It's been a while since I have. Since the baby has come along, I've told people that my heart is full and my brain is empty. And if I've said that before, it's because my brain is empty. But I think I remembered what I want to say today, so I'm going to try it from here. The first words of Isaiah today talk about being afraid. Tell the fearful, do not be afraid. And I've spoken in the past about fear and about the things that we're afraid of. But today I want to share something with you that I don't think I've said in public before, or at least in this setting. Something that I'm afraid of. And I think it's something that I've been afraid of probably my whole life, or at least ever since I became a teenager and on. And one of the things that I'm afraid of is failure. I'm afraid to fail. I think that fear motivates me. It motivates me to do my job better. Being a pastor is one of those great responsibilities that I have, and it's something that I'll forever be grateful and humbled by, that you have given me that responsibility, but it also means that I have the potential to fail, and fail miserably, and there are pastors who do that all the time. Last week was a great Sunday. I don't know if you were here for it, the baptism of Caroline, and my pastor drove down from Michigan to do that, and it was just so wonderful being with him. And while he was here, we talked about what's going on back home. He worked at the congregation where I went as a child for 25 years and retired a couple years ago. And over the course of 25 years, he did everything he could for that congregation. He put his heart and soul into it, his blood and his sweat into that congregation. And the congregation was thriving when he was there. And he retired, and they brought in a new pastor. And in the first year, worship attendance has been cut in half. And he said, well, what's going on? And the pastor just said, well, it's just the way the culture is today. People have stopped going to church at Lutheran churches. And he was really dumbfounded by that answer. This idea that failure is just going to happen and there's nothing we can do to stop it. And I guess I was really saddened to hear that, because that's a church that certainly I love dearly, that has meant so much to me. But then I thought the reality is that that's happening a lot. And I am afraid that could start to happen here, and so that motivates me more. But the reason I think I'm such afraid of failure is because I have failed in life. I've failed a number of times. I've failed in relationships. Some of my best friends who were in my wedding, I haven't seen since my wedding, because I've moved to Texas and they live in the Northeast, and we just haven't gotten together, and I feel like we're strangers now. I have failed financially. When I was graduated from college, I got a job at Chrysler. Many of you know that. I was there for 4 years before going to seminary, and I started my 401k. Right when I started, I was going to be, do what everybody told me to do, and I was going to be the one who retired young and all that stuff. When I was about 25, after 3 years of feeding the 401k, I was sitting with a dealership. I was a district manager. I was 41 dealerships that I was responsible for, and one of the guys said, "There's this stock that's about to go through the roof." And so I took 100% of my 401k and put it in this stock. It was like $3.75 or 50 cents. And I thought, it's going to go to like 40. Well, it did. 40 cents. And I figured out a way to take every dollar that I saved and turned it into a dime. And I felt like, well, I guess I'm going to start over. And so I quit and went to seminary. But that's a different story. But I have taken a savings account and turned it into nothing. And I'm afraid to do that again, and especially now that I have a family. And so I have failed. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to wake up and just be so frustrated and angry with myself. And I never want to go through that again. I have failed numerous times playing sports. I love playing sports, but I have failed. There have been, in high school, every time when we were down by 1 point in the last 10 seconds, I wanted to take the shot, and I never made it. But I wanted to take the shot. I failed. Baseball players, professional baseball players, the major league average for a professional baseball player is that they fail 3 out of 4 times they walk up to the plate. And if you fail 2 out of 3, you're in the Hall of Fame. Failure is a part of life, but it's something that motivates us and drives us to be better and to do better. But when we talk about failing spiritually, this gospel of grace that we preach is one that kind of makes us feel good about ourselves and our failures. But this James text is one that, as Lutherans, I think we struggle with a little bit as far as Lutheran theology, because James says faith without works is dead. I like to say faith without actions is dead, but the truth is that if we don't live out the faith that we proclaim, then it's dead. And if that's true, then there is room for us to spiritually fail. And the potential is there that when we die, we will stand before the great judge and they'll say, well, you claim to have faith, but where are your actions? And so it brings in this hint into our lives that maybe I'm not doing enough. What is enough? I don't want to spiritually fail. How can I be better? How can I know that I've done enough? Which is why I love this gospel text. I absolutely love this gospel text because, well, let's set aside for a minute that this Jesus that we say and sing about being so great, that he was quite rude, that what he said to this woman was rude. He was mean to her. But what he said is important because there is truth to it. But what she says is even more important. She says, please help my daughter. Now, she was a Syrophoenician woman. She was a Greek. She wasn't a Jew. And first off, women in that time and culture weren't supposed to talk to men in public, but Greek women were not supposed to talk to Jewish men. That was considered a huge boundary not to be crossed in public. But she was so desperate. She had nothing left. She came to Jesus and said, please help my daughter. Please help my daughter, because if there's anything I fear more than failure, it's something happening to my child. It's something happening to a child in this congregation. And when I heard about Jack Neal, who fell on his skateboard on Friday on his way to school and had brain trauma and was taken to Parkland and had loss of memory, it just scared me beyond words. But to hear that he's home now and doing better is great. And so she comes desperate. And Jesus calls her a dog, insults her in her desperation. And what does she do? She says, yep, you're right. That's what I am. Even the dogs, though, get to eat the crumb from the master's table. You're right, I'm standing before you desperate. I have no pride. All of my pride is out the window. I have nothing left but hope that you'll do something for me. Jesus, that's faith. She has nothing left. She is desperate. It is out of her hands, and she's placing it in mine. That is faith. And that's the type of faith that healed her daughter. So when I was about 13 years old, my parents moved to a new home, and we had a full acre behind our house. And it was right when I decided I wanted to start learning how to play golf. And so I got out there with a 9-iron and a golf ball, and I was just going to hit it, and I had an acre. I had more space than anybody could possibly need. And so the first swing, I pulled it about 90 yards left, and I saw the ball in the air going down the street, actually, directly at this brand new 1994 Camaro Z28 that my neighbor had just bought. And the ball was making a beeline for that car. And in that moment, I prayed, Lord, it's in your hands. There's nothing I can do right now. What I didn't see was that tiny tree between myself and the car. And the ball hit that tree and fell harmlessly to the ground. And I ran with my golf club back into the house, hoping that nobody saw it, and left the ball where it was. It's a silly story, and I'm glad it did not hit his car, but it's a story that points to, I think, where so many of us are at times in life. We are not in control any longer. The ball is in the air, and we just need to pray. And I think the best prayers come from when we realize that there's no room for pride in our prayer, that there's no place for us to stand in front of God and say, yeah, but I did this. Yeah, but I did that. James says today, if you've broken one law, you've broken them all. So don't even try and tell me how good of a person you are. And Jesus sees us as we are. And Jesus sees us and smiles and says, it's okay that you have failed. It's okay that you will fail. It's okay. Put all your faith in me. Put all your trust in me. Put all your hope in me. And let your fears be relieved by the knowledge that no matter how large your failure is, I love you. And I will never stop loving you for as long as you continue to fail. Amen.